you pulled out some.
I was like, I need something to play at the top here. I don't know what to do. So I pulled out, what was that? I think season 3.
The beginning of season 3.
And then I just stuck a 4 in there. Hey, guys. Oh, John. We're not at Dodger Stadium, and that's kind of rough. I'm not actually watching the game, but I have the game cast on right here. Last I checked a couple months ago, we're up 3-0. Yes! Ah! Anyway, I'll spare you all Dodger talk. How you doing?
What
are we doing here? We're actually drinking too.
We're drinking to bachelorhood.
To bachelorhood?
Yeah.
And we have Nico-chan's microphone in her honor because she's not here this evening. So double cheers.
Double cheers. Nico-chan flew to Japan for a week. So we're proving, us manly men are proving that we can function.
Drag ourselves out of bed. Comb the hair. Do the laundry. And make the guac. Come on now. This is a Stephen Fryette special. And it's going to sound like I'm blowing smoke. But that is some of the best goddamn guac I've ever had. You got to talk about it. I've just now dubbed that the Fryette 15-minute guac recipe. Is it a 50 water or a 100 water?
I don't know. I've only had 2 bites of it so far.
Oh. I've had about 20 bites of it so far.
Yeah.
So, you feel like getting into it? Because I got to know what you did. There's this really deep, smoky thing you got going on in there that I don't know where that came from.
Okay, well, this is what I learned from my mom. Not the guac, but the methodology.
Okay.
Which is, you approach it as a thing that needs to be completed with zero regard for the outcome.
Oh, interesting.
And that means, if you'd watch my mom in the kitchen back in the day, what are you making? I don't know, I'm just throwing together whatever I have. And her friends would, oh, Lorraine, what's your recipe? Some of this, and some of this, and some of this, some of this, some of this.
Yeah.
And they're like, So, I had a wild ass idea for the show tonight, and I called Joe and discussed it with him, and he said, yeah, great idea for another show, not this one.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
And so I went, yeah, I kind of figured you'd say that, but I wasn't really, I'm not sure if I have the time to do this, to set up to where we're comfortable doing the show tonight without that crutch of trying something completely crazy.
Yeah,
right?
Because we're going to do it on location.
Right. So, so I thought about it for a sec, and when we were discussing this, I was in my car.
Right.
So after we got off the phone, I pulled into a grocery store parking lot and grabbed a couple things, and then I came home and just started doing this.
After you listened to the guy play Crazy Train on the corner?
Yeah, I went to. This is great. I go to Gelson's to pick up a couple of things, and as I'm pulling in, I'm hearing Crazy Train just blasting out of the parking lot, and there's this dude who I've seen around the area, with a little tent next to the parking lot, and he's got his little boom box, and he's like doing the whole solo to Crazy Train out there in the hot sun.
What key is it in?
Oh, look at you. Look at you.
Hey, I was in cover bands.
Yeah, well, this guy had the distinction of being completely expressionless while he's doing it. He's just looking at the cars, seeing if somebody's going to throw any change at him or drop anything in the bucket. And I'm just thinking,
Bless you.
I got to get in here and get out of here. So I just grabbed a couple things and ran home, and well, it's pretty straight ahead. It's avocado, it's tomatoes, onions, salt, sea salt crystals,
Okay.
lime,
Okay. I'm getting all that.
cilantro, and get away, bug. It's a bug trying to eat the guacamole. Pan roasted pepitas
Oh.
and
Oh yeah.
Topped off with chipotle powder.
Oh, okay. Ding, 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 ding. That is a secret ingredient.
And
That's setting
I
it
turned
off.
the chipotle bottle to the side just to get a little bit out, and this big boulder of chipotle just goes plop right in the top.
Oh, wow.
And I get out a teaspoon and I carefully scoop that big blob out and put it back in the jar because it's way too much. And I'm not going to ruin my guac over that stupid mistake. I'm going to dig it out, and it stayed together. So I was able to extract that whole chunk that fell out of the jar without breaking it and without more falling off into it. So
To ride another day.
and then I just let it sit on the counter. I didn't taste it. I just let it sit on the counter, and I figured, in the Fryette tradition, I don't care. It is what it is. And as my mom said, you can eat it or you can chuck it. And also, it needs to sit a little while anyway. So tasting it right after you make it is wrong, because all you'll do.
needs to congeal a little bit.
Well, all you do when you taste a recipe to try to refine it is you make it worse in advance.
Is that what happens with amps?
Mm-hmm. Happens in everything, sure. I mean,
I've experienced it both ways, but actually, when I've experienced it the other way, it's normally when I've been working with a producer who's actually there with another set of ears in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Where, I might think that a take that I played was just the worst thing imaginable. And they're like, okay, you're done. And I'm like, no, you can't say that. No, that was horrible. Like, you can't put this out. No. They're like, listen, you got to come back tomorrow anyway for more stuff. Make you a deal. You go home, sleep on it, come in tomorrow, we'll listen to it. If it's still terrible, by the light of day, you can redo it. And then I'll get in and I'm like, hot shit. I guess you were right. I was just all up in my head,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
why we have
yeah.
producers.
Yeah.
Or that's why you call people in, go, look, I've been working on this design for a week straight. My ears are shut.
yeah, I
Can
have
you come
zero-
tell me,
I have zero
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah.
Zero. And yeah, and the other thing that ruins guacamole, always ruins guacamole. One is the food processor.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's actually, that's a good point.
No food processor.
I could tell.
And sans food processor, the other thing a person does is try to impersonate a food processor by using a fork and stirring it until it might as well have been put in a food processor. The only thing a food processor does that stirring with a fork doesn't do is the pepitas. It would chop them into this fine, unintelligible
Sure,
dust.
you wouldn't recognize it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So to have texture, to have actual, when you bite into it, to be able to taste avocado out of some bites and not other bites, where
Well,
the
all
part of the
ingredients are
avocado
like
that actually congealed with the other ingredients has got one flavor, and the part that didn't has another flavor.
Yeah.
And so there's these layers and textures.
There's a complexity in there.
Yeah,
this-
that you only get by leaving it the hell alone.
Instead of, here's food processor guac, like glop. That's just mono flavor,
Yeah.
you know, which I guess is fine if you want that as like almost
A wedding or a funeral or a...
well, if it's not being used like this, if it's used as part of a larger recipe and you need it to be some consistency for that aspect,
Maybe.
right?
Maybe, yeah.
That's where I could see
Yeah.
it being useful there.
Yeah.
But here, like that was one of the first things I noticed was, oh, the preparations, analog. So how did you do it? How do you do it?
Do what?
How do you do your mashing, blending?
No mashing, no blending.
Well, it's all together. How did you do it? Like you didn't fork the hell out of it.
No, I take an avocado,
Mm-hmm.
cut it in half, take the nut out of the middle,
Yeah.
and then just scoop it out with a spoon.
Okay.
I just scoop it out with a little spoon. So that's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 8.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Probably 8
9,
spoonfuls
10,
will
11,
just
12.
and you leave them in these big chunks. I don't stir them. I just throw them in, and then I throw the other ingredients on top of all of it. Just throw it in. No particular order.
Lorraine style.
The pepitas went in last. That was the only thing. The pepitas go in last because you just had them on a little low heat frying pan getting toasted. You put them on one side, turn the heat up. When the heat starts warming up, you know when it's time to flip them because one of them will pop. First time you hear one go pop, then that means they're all ready to flip. So you flip them once and turn the heat off. The heat from the pan will adequately heat the other side. So you flip them over, turn the heat off, let it sit there for a minute. Make sure that you're done with all the other ingredients. Then throw the pepitas on top and lightly stir it. Lightly stir it. And that way the pepitas don't get soggy.
Yeah.
They stay crisp. And and the other stuff isn't a soggy mush that will go try to make the pepitas soggy.
Yeah.
It's just like, leave it alone. It's atomically stable, you know.
Yeah.
And
It's like throwing chow mein noodles.
yeah, and I just finished it a few minutes before the show. And that's a real big thing too, because it's just got to be. It starts losing that texture.
The
pretty much.
immediacy. Yeah.
Right away. That's why the tabletop guacamole is so great at some restaurants. They bring it, they do everything right in front of you, and then you have like 4 bites, and it's like, oh yeah. And then about halfway into it, you're like, ugh, I can't eat another bite of this. It's just mush.
So how does Steve like his porterhouse? Asks Brendan Lucero.
I know nothing about. I don't really eat much meat. Very rarely.
I didn't think so. I've been a vegetarian since 2001.
Yeah, I'm not a strict vegetarian. I'm a pescatarian, but I do eat meat once in a while, on the occasion that I know the establishment. I know that they do a good job of it, and I'm with a party that appreciates that. So I'm not going to rain on their parade.
Mm-hmm.
So. I mean, I was in Germany one time, and everybody wanted to go to this restaurant in just outside of Frankfurt somewhere. That their specialty was this certain kind of medallions of beef, and I went along with it because it's It's their specialty.
Yeah.
You go there for that.
I
So
get that.
you don't go there for that and then don't get that. So a lot of times, like in an Indian restaurant or a steak place or something, when I'm with people that want to go to a steak place, they say, how do you want it done? And I say, I'm not here to tell the chef how to do their job. And the waiter goes, very good, sir, and walks away. That was the right answer.
I tend to do that everywhere now.
And the same thing with Indian restaurants. How spicy do you want? How spicy would you make this dish at home?
Yeah, for you.
And they go, you probably don't want to eat it that way. And I said, is it the way you eat it? Yes, I'll want it that way.
Yeah.
And every Indian restaurant has a different, family is maybe from a different region. They have like a little different, you know, regional approach to it. So the flavor matrix is different, you know. So every time I go to an Indian restaurant, I'll say, make it the way you would eat it. And sometimes they go, oh, okay, they want to show you this is the way it's to do it right. And another place will go, you don't want to, you'll end up in the hospital. No, I won't. Just bring it the way you would eat it. And they bring it, and it's not excessively spicy. It's not excessively anything. It's just like, oh, this is the way they would eat this.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, I do have friends that just, oh, you know, make it just like so that I'm going to have a coronary after I eat the first bite. I want it so spicy that my eyeballs pop right out of my head. Well, that's not the way they, traditional, you know, the natives of the country where this dish originated, that's not the way they eat it.
When I was in my 30s, I would eat fire for sport.
Yeah, yeah.
I was really into pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, I know a lot of people like that.
And I don't do that anymore.
I tried that a couple of times, and you know, I've woken up the next day with like these welts on my lips and all that stuff. That's not fun.
I really enjoyed it. It was fun, but I don't know if it's getting older or what. But like, I still could enjoy it going in, but it just messes up my gut so much the next day. And I mean, isn't that just like part of getting older?
Yeah.
It's like you value the next day more than like peak experience tonight.
Right.
Like, I don't want to be out till 4 a.m.
See, this was a little
productive day tomorrow.
This was a little too salty when we first started, but now it's starting to get just right. So I wouldn't know how to ask for what to do with a porterhouse. I probably wouldn't order a porterhouse. I would say, what would you recommend tonight? And they would say, well, this is really popular. No, I'm not asking what's popular. What would you recommend? I would personally have this. Okay, I'll have that. And how would you like it done? The way you would have it done. Yeah. Okay. You know, it just, part of it is, I don't really know what the hell I'm talking about, so what are you asking me for, you know? It's like like guys that come to me, yeah, you know, I want a 2150 power amp, but I want it with all ceramic tube sockets.
Right.
Yeah, okay, all right, fine. Sure.
Yeah. Because you're on some riff that's the most important thing without asking the builder their
Now, if somebody
rationale
said to me,
behind
what sockets would you put in this for me? I would put the sockets in it for you that I put it for everybody else, because I want everybody to be happy with it.
Well, because that's the way you design it. Because to say I want something else is to basically say you didn't do a good enough job in the first place.
Yeah.
Like you were holding back on this. That's why it doesn't have ceramic tube sockets, right? Like, I want the premium one. And you're like, you would get the premium one. Just order it the way that I built it.
I went to we went to a black market bistro a few weeks ago. And usually I like to sit at the bar. The bartenders are really good, and there's this one woman bartender that she's really good at gimlets.
Can you see this?
Yeah.
I'm just noticing it, like lifting my arm.
What, you got a mosquito bite or something?
No. I was in a circuit class yesterday. I was doing these box jumps. And I'd taken a spin class the hour before it, and then I doubled up in this circuit class. So like 2 classes in a row. So I'm whomped. And I'm doing these box jumps. And the one before I wiped out, I'm going, I'm too tired to be doing this on this little box. I should move to the big box. And I jumped on the little box, and it slid because I didn't have enough energy to, you know, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, and get on and off the box. Too much of my weight landed on the little box, and it slipped out. And boom, like I wiped it, man.
That's great.
I just noticed. That's pretty
what that
sweet.
is.
Yeah.
You just reminded me of a great song. Leopard Skin Pillbox Cat.
I don't know that.
Bob Dylan?
Don't know it.
Listen to it. The lyrics are hysterical.
Let's look for the lyricisms now. And I can check the Dodger game. Okay, still 3-0. What's it called?
Leopard Skin Pillbox Hat. So in 62-ish, the pillbox hat was like all the rage. Jackie Onassis got one. Every woman on the planet had to have one, and so Dylan wrote a song about it called "Leopard Skin Pillbox Hat," and the lyrics are a riot. They are a riot. So, when you get a second, listen to the song. First of all, it's a great song. There's a live version that's way better than the recorded version. They're both Bloomfield playing guitar on it. On the album version, it's really tinny and thin sounding and kind of wretched guitar sounds. But it doesn't matter because the whole song is so sarcastic and in your face anyway that didn't really matter. But the live version, the guitar sounds way more natural, a little bit more naturally distorted, but just like that edge of breakup and not too bright. Still the Telecaster, you can still tell.
So many of those records from that era, like the studio recordings, are like, and if you catch it live, you're like, oh shit,
yeah. And this was like but the lyrics and the phrasing of the lyrics on the album version are to die for, but the live version, the guitar playing is to die for. That's where, if somebody raves to you about Bloomfield and you go listen to the studio track, you go, what the hell did anybody think Bloomfield was worth a shit for? And then when you hear the live one, it's like, this is the guy. Now I get it. This is why Dylan hired him, because when they're playing live, this is the scene where they're at the Newport Jazz Festival, he's playing electric for the first time, and he turns around to Bloomfield and goes, turn it up, fuck him. It was just like, yes, yes, yes. And, while people are booing them, he's like, yeah, turn it up, fuck them. And the lyrics to Pillbox Hat are kind of like that, too.
Yeah.
So when you read the lyrics, kind of keep the attitude in mind where some of the shit he's saying, like...
I just read the lyrics, and honestly, I'm thinking, like, you probably have to hear Dylan deliver them.
You have to hear his
like
delivery.
Over 50% of the experience, right?
Yeah.
Because he'll really tell you what the meaning of every word is through his
delivery.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
Like,
you can hear.
Oh, yeah.
You can hear the
bite.
You can hear the bite, the acerbic wit, coming through in full regalia. It's just.
I'd pull it up and play it if we wouldn't get popped by YouTube.
Yeah,
but we would.
So play it yourself. Also, it's just a great shuffle groove. Da-dun, da-dun, da-dun,
Did you didn't catch Dylan? No, wait. Yeah, you didn't catch Dylan this summer at the Bowl, did you?
No.
I really wanted to go.
I saw him at the El Rey Theater about 20 years ago. And it was really cool, but the coolest thing about the El Rey show was how insanely fucked up the audience was. The weed factor and and the acid factor, and the people in the people in the audience were the entertainment by far. It was just like Dylan was the background music, and the people in the audience were like Nico-chan's going, what is she doing? There was this girl that had wearing a tutu.
Okay.
A full ballet outfit.
As one does. It's a Dylan show. I gotta have a little more of this. The
leggings and the shoes and the tutu and the hair up and the whole bit. And I swear, she stood in this one spot for an hour and a half and pirouetted continuously from the beginning of the show to the end. How she did that without vomiting all over herself, I will never know. But it was just like this the entire time. And there was a couple of other things, but still it was great because Nico-chan is not a drug person, and she was like, we need to get out of the building. There's an earthquake. And I said, there's no earthquake. She goes, no, the floor is undulating. We're having an earthquake. We need to get out of here. And I'm like, the floor is not undulating. There's no earthquake. And she was like really getting, and I'm like, she was getting contact high from the audience.
Oh shit!
And she was feeling the floor going like this.
Wow. I've never had that feeling.
And I'm like sitting there going, no, we're not going. It's not a problem. Just watch the band.
Wow.
She wasn't really into Dylan because she didn't understand the lyrics. I mean, you have to.
Oh, 20 years ago? Like how? Well, 20 years ago, I mean, she had been here for a while. But like that stuff is so of the culture.
It's
right?
of the culture and and to ask a first generation Japanese person to listen to Dylan and get anything out of it is like,
that's what I mean.
Forget it.
Right.
It. There's so many. First of all, it's the language. Second of all, it's the intent behind the language. Third of all, it's the being of its time.
Right.
And the context.
Right.
Which is completely.
That's what I mean.
You know,
like,
yeah,
the
you
culture. And there are so many layers of expression with just the way he lays a line on you that are referring to. What do you see?
Oh, I'm listening to you, but who was it? Stephen Bryan. He's like encapsulating he's encapsulating the experience of doing a pirouette for an hour and a half, which is great. Explosive exercises or polymetric movements you don't really want to do after endurance before is the magic. So I'm trying to glean the meaning of that, but it sounds like he's saying that.
No, I think he's talking about me. I fell off the box yesterday because that's exactly what I did. I was doing hardcore cardio, and then I'm doing plyometrics. That's exactly, Steven's on point with that. That's exactly what I was doing. And it was hilarious.
I bet there's a little of both in there.
I'm going to grab a different bourbon.
Well, excuse me, sir.
You better get to sipping.
Yeah, I got to catch up.
I'm gonna answer some questions.
So anyway, about the recipe was, it's a mindset. It's a mindset to approach something and just go for it. And I really like the idea of not having a particular regard for the outcome. And the benefit of that is, there's two aspects of it I'd like to just sort of interject so that we could just wrap that part of the conversation.
Yeah.
One of them is,
we got time.
First, you need to know where you're going. You need to know a little bit about the journey that you're on and the potential outcome, which comes from experience and being immersed in that all of your life, right?
Which I have a little sidebar about that you mentioned that I'll talk about.
But everybody that's really creative has that. And the other thing about the outcome is, and I work with a lot of artists that have this problem. If you're so concerned about the outcome within the creative process, you short circuit the creative process because you're focused on the outcome. You're not focused on the process. The creative process is a linear, maybe it's logarithmic, but it's on a timeline that you're going along and making subjective decisions, and it's kind of like you're on a path, and then you hit a Y in the road, and you choose A or B, and then you go down B, and then you get to another Y, and you choose C and D, and so on and so on and so forth. If each time you approach one of those intersections, and you try to decide which road to take based on what you think the final outcome is going to be, then whatever you thought the outcome was going to be is not going to be the outcome anyway. So it might as well just be a random decision. Okay. Now, when I was a little kid, I used to like to go for long walks. I just like to go for long walks by myself and go out and sort of discover the neighborhood, the world around me.
How old are we talking?
10.
Okay, that's cool.
8, 10 years old.
Cool.
I had a little backpack. I'd throw some crackers and some peanut butter in there.
That's adorable.
And
little 10-year-old Steve's out there. I'm going on a journey.
I'm going on a little journey, and I had a stick. And I'd throw the stick up. I'd go out.
This is awesome.
I'd go out the front door of the house, the sidewalk in the front of the house, throw the stick up in the air. Wherever it landed, that's the direction I would go.
way!
And I did that all day long.
Oh man, that is the coolest thing.
And I figured, well, I'm either going to get so far out that I'm not going to know where I am, and I'm going to have to call home and get a ride home or something like that, or I'm going to figure out my way back. But as it turns out, it was a little anticlimactic because I sort of knew the general area that I lived in well enough that I could figure out my way back home.
Yeah.
Still, the stick thing, it was fun. And sometimes I would throw the stick and I would go, if I go the direction of the stick, the journey is not going to be so interesting. And I don't. And
you're going to override the stick.
I can override the stick because I want to keep. I'm looking
for adventure.
I'm looking for adventure. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So.
What key? What key is that in? Born to be Wild?
I don't know. B.
No, it's not. No.
Yeah.
No.
There you go. Yeah. Okay.
For adventure.
Throwing up the stick.
Anyway, that is so cool. Okay, so you would override
the
stick.
creative process is the same way.
Yeah.
The minute you try to predetermine the outcome, the whole purpose of the journey is kind of moot, right? So you know what you're going to find at the other end of that, and it's almost like when you do that, you don't want to encounter the unexpected.
Right.
And what I want to encounter, I want to know what's out there. I want to know what the pitfalls are.
Shark areas.
I want to know what. I want to be in a situation that I have to figure my way out of. So, I think that's with cooking, with product design, with any of that. That mindset is, whether it's songwriting or whatever, you have to leave yourself open and what's the word? You have to leave yourself
well, you're receptive. You're
receptive
open.
to a journey. And,
I just saw that 5-0.
And to learn something, get something out of it.
Did you always have that together, or were you more constricted when you were a younger man at some point? Like, no, I'm going to do, this is my will, and I'm going to do this. And then as you've aged, you've been able to go back. No,
Very early
like
on, I realized that I could not will a vision into existence. Because
that's important.
Because you can't. Well, if you become evolved enough of a being, maybe at some juncture in the future, you might be able to do that. But a 15-year-old kid can't do that unless he's some kind of super genius. But I don't know. I think that I liked the idea that I would take what little I know to get the journey started, and then let the circumstances convey back to me where I am.
Right. And you're going to play with the universe as an equal part.
Yeah,
rather
and
than I will tell you what's
amplifier design or product design, basically I would operate up to the limit of what I knew at the time, and then I either have to go do a little research or guess the next step. And if I was motivated enough to do the research, I would go do the research and go, that is so mind-numbingly boring. And then the other aspect of, well, just try it and see what happens. And then if something worked, it'd be like, oh, wow. And then I'd go back and look at, oh, yeah, that was telling me that that would work. I was just too lazy to really read it that deeply. And the other part was, this did exactly what the book that I didn't want to read said it would do. And now I learned not only what it was doing, but why it did that. So that goes in the little card file. Shing, shing, shing. So yeah, you just having less regard for the outcome enables you to pick up the breadcrumbs along the way that you can store for later and use later, on the next go around. So yeah, that's how cooking and product design and any creative endeavor, that's how I personally view it. I'm not saying that's the rule or that's the way it works for everybody. That's just the way it works for me. And you mentioned earlier about my apparent enthusiasm for revisiting old stuff and turning it into new stuff, and continually to try to refine things or develop new things. And that comes from that's purely the love of it and the enthusiasm for it. It's not about I think I'm learning anything much more, because a lot of what the concepts and the theory that goes in that is part and parcel to the stuff that gets designed, it's not like that really has to be indulged in that much. It just is. Electronic theory is what it is. You don't design based on electronic theory unless you're getting way out in some unknown territory where you have to understand where you are.
But sometimes you wind up there.
Sometimes you wind up there.
That's when you have to crack a book, right? All right.
Right.
I'm out in the weeds. I still have to solve this problem. I need to go get some
And in the old days, you would crack a book.
Yeah.
In the old days, when you were lost, you open up the glove compartment and pull out a map.
Yeah.
These days, you get on your iPhone and pull up a map.
Yeah.
These days, you get on the iPhone and you Google the concept and you get an excerpt from the book, or you get an answer. You get an AI answer or something like that that relates to the subject that you were asking the question about. However you approach the problem, ask the question, interpret the answer from the question that you ask, and and gather the information you need to take the next step. However you do it is okay, as long as
process is still the same.
Process is still the same, and if you're not sure that the information that you're getting is accurate, you can always cross-check it through several different sources. You would do that, going to a library. And so you can do it going to the Google library or whatever the internet machine is that you can go get that information anywhere.
Yeah.
You just have to know what questions you're asking. And a lot of times you'll ask a question and you'll go, that isn't the question that I wanted answered, but that was a really great piece of information.
That can set you off.
Yeah.
Or at least, okay, that goes on the whiteboard.
That gets parked over here for
We're going
later.
to come back to that. Yeah. Hey, we can do this concurrently where we can keep going down that path, but I want to make sure we start answering some questions too, because they're starting to build up. And
Yeah.
And you guys are leaving some great stuff in the chat, and I feel like we're not including you yet. So let's get to some of that. So Jared just asked if there's an ETA on the ZMAX getting out.
We've been shipping them. So as has been happening with us a lot lately, people think that we're not producing yet because they can't get them. And what's really happening is that as soon as we ship them, people are buying them. That's so fantastic, and thank you for the people that have jumped on the bandwagon on those products. Great, and we're producing more. We're shipping a bunch more next week, so they will be available very shortly.
Great.
And I'm really stoked about that. I'm having a lot of fun.
I think I saw a bunch of them on Jose's table when I was at the shop the other
Yes,
day.
you did.
Yeah, so.
They weren't just on his
coming.
table. There was 4 racks full of them
Oh, okay.
that
Yeah.
had all been assembled.
I just walked in and, whoa, damn. Okay, there they are.
Yeah,
All right, so good?
yeah.
All right. Our buddy Carlos asks, Steve, I finally got a PS2A and have been using it with my Synergy Pitbull. I noticed the PS2 sounds just like my 2902 when it has the voice switch engaged. Was that a conscious choice for the PS2?
Sounds like the 292 with the voicing switch engaged. Interesting. The voicing switch on the 292 is much more aggressive in the top end than the PS2. So probably what you're hearing, let's see, you're using it with what?
Synergy Pitbull, right?
Okay, so
Yeah.
you're using a Syn 1 or a Syn 2 with the Pitbull module. And you're noticing that the PS2 into whatever speaker cabinet, and let us know what the speaker cabinet you're using is, because that'll help me. No, the 292 is much more aggressive, way more aggressive than the PS2 in the high-end frequency response when you engage that button. So that could be a function of the settings
412. That's what he's running it into.
and what speakers. Is it the Fane speakers? So interesting. Well, then the PS2 and the 292
Fanes.
have presence and depth controls. They behave differently at different settings. So the presence on the PS2 at 2 o'clock is quite a bit different than the presence of the 292 at 2 o'clock. So you've got a couple of things that work there. But one thing that would make them all sound similar is even though the 292 is much more aggressive in the top end extension when you press that switch in, the speakers still have the same high frequency roll-off characteristic.
Mm-hmm.
So they might shave off some of that upper frequency emphasis of the 292.
Yeah.
And that could be why the PS2 and the 292 sound more similar, because the Fane is performing its little post EQ behavior on that.
Yeah. Almost the non-EQ behavior. Like it's
Yeah.
nulling out.
Yeah, because
You know,
after 5
it's-
kilohertz, after 5 kilohertz, there's a steep roll off on any guitar speaker, and the Fane is no exception. So a lot of the emphasis on the voicing switch on the 292 starts at around 2K and goes up pretty high, but the speaker intervenes and will tend to shave off some of that excess. And so in that way, yeah, I can see how you would have that impression. That's the great thing about controls and features and functions and frequency responses and stuff like that, is it's all relative, and they're all mitigated by the other pieces of gear that you have plugged into them.
It's kind of what keeps it fun, right?
Well, I mean, you came over the other day and you heard 5 distinctly different iterations of the Fryette gain sound.
Right.
And if you listen to them in isolation, you go, this one's got more thump, this one's got more edge, this one's got more bark. But when you hear them all connected to the same power amp and speaker cabs, you're doing the same thing I'm doing. Which one are we in now? I don't know. I have to turn the volume knob on one of them and see if the knob goes up and down. That'll tell me that
That
I'm
was
in that
freaky,
one.
man.
Yeah.
That was really freaky.
It was almost like, what was the point of connecting like 6 different amplifiers when all 6 sounds are essentially the same?
Like, how long have we collectively been fucking with guitar stuff, right? And like listening like as deeply as we can. How many years do you think we have, even just between us?
At
Like,
least,
it's
what,
a
10?
lot. At least 10 years we've been doing this.
Yeah.
And
We still go,
and then I'm going, I'm still so biased by visuals. So when I get in a room with you, I now make a habit of I need to turn my back.
Yeah.
Because I think I know what's going on. And then I turn my back and I'm like, okay,
No, I
Steve,
don't
I'm
know.
lost.
I don't know shit.
I don't know when you're changing shit. I can't hear a difference. So, I'm not Eric Johnson, but yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Hey,
What?
okay, I'm going to get shit for this, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Uh-oh. I'm not responsible for this. I don't know what you're doing. Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm sharing this.
So where is that?
This is in come on, phone. There we go. This is
That's the Erico.
yes. That is the
Jaunting around someplace in Japan. It has a name that we don't know.
I believe that's in the Nara prefecture. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Way out in the weeds, way out in the mountains west of, I think, southwest of Tokyo proper.
No English is spoken. You better have your Japanese together.
Yeah, yeah,
Or you better be with Erico.
yeah. She's getting a cultural her cultural batteries recharged.
I love that.
And good
That's
for
so
her.
cool.
Yeah, it's
That's so
great.
cool.
It's
Erico's
great.
the best.
And I'm learning how to function.
Look, man, I came over. You were an amazing host without Erico here. I come in and we got this spread going on. I mean, look, I don't want to sound condescending, but I'm proud of you, man.
Thank you. Thank you. I felt motivated. I just felt like, well, so it's been a few days and there was an adjustment period
Yeah.
and I could feel this sort of propensity to go backwards in time.
Oh, I'm gonna fuck off.
I'm just gonna
Yeah, I'm gonna.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go break shit and get arrested.
Wait, I need a gig. I need a gig.
Yeah, I'm gonna wake up in
yeah.
the gutter behind the Robin Hood, where the hell am I? Where's my phone?
Where's Lemmy? I need to go hang with Lemmy. Oh,
Yeah.
wait, he's gone.
Yeah.
Shit, what am I gonna do?
But what actually happened was, nah, I'm not interested in doing that. I want to get up early. I want to go to the car wash. I want to get this thing done. I want to go to the store and get a few things. But I also want to just, you know what? I don't really want to make dinner. I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to run down to the store. There's a store nearby here that has a really good pizza.
Who?
It's
store?
Whole Foods.
Whole Foods pizza is
The-
actually good.
Yeah. But depends on which Whole Foods you go to, because some of them just suck sideways.
Pasadena. The pizza at the Whole Foods at Pasadena. Like, I'm a pizza idiot. I'm serious.
The Burbank one.
Yeah.
Amazing crust. Fucking amazing crust. The Sherman Oaks one.
The Silver Lake
sucks
one is kind of crap.
Sideways.
Yeah.
Sucks. Every time you go in there, the crust is this wimpy little dilapidated crap.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's going to be flavorless.
Yeah.
The little mini Whole Foods down here in Coldwater,
I've never been
the
to
one
that. Oh, wait. No, I know that one.
yeah, that was the one where they did that experiment with the phone where you had the Saturday Night Live did the send up of the when you go in there and you just walk in and you hold your phone out here and then you go in, put stuff in your cart and just leave.
Oh, I gotta tell you about that.
That was an experimental location.
Oh,
that was so much fun, and the bit that Saturday Night Live did with that was just beyond hilarious. They were showing like the Maya Rudolph and what's the male black lead in Saturday Night Live, the heavier set guy.
Oh,
Starts
I know
with
who you're
K,
talking about.
not Kanye.
I know who you're talking about.
They're
I see his
in.
face.
They're in there going, "Oh yeah, you just walk out in the." Yeah, right.
All right. Actually, we're gonna do a little experiment right now. Last night.
Anyway, the Coldwater location, their pizza's really good. So I went to the Coldwater location, got a cheese pizza that I picked the one with the best crust, and they had 2 or 3 pieces that had amazing crust on them. You could tell it was really bubbly and airy and like all built up around the edges. I got one of those. I brought it home and I put tomato sauce and capers on it and cracked a bottle of wine, and that was my dinner, and it was great. And I got this text message: "What are you having for dinner?" Whole Foods pizza with blah blah. I sent her a picture, and she's like, "I'm sorry." I'm like, "I'm not. I'm having a great time."
Okay. Last night we went to see Billy Joel
Oh,
at the Intuit Dome, which is the new monstrosity that Steve Ballmer built for the Clippers, right? And I was actually excited to go check it out. It is the biggest data hoarding, like, in order to get in there, like, we bought tickets kind of at the last minute via Ticketmaster.
where is it?
This was at the Intuit Dome. Do you know where that is? Mm-mm. Do you know where SoFi is? You know where the Forum is in Inglewood? Mm-hmm. It's all this kind of big complex. There's the Forum, there's SoFi, and then there's
Can
the
I try
Intuit
this?
Dome. It's yours.
Oh.
I'll pour it for you. Say when, buddy.
When?
Oh, you need more. If you don't want to drink it all, we can put it back.
Wow, that's not bad guac, by the way.
So you can't get into the Intuit Dome. Wait, I think you can, but you have to get a wearable.
Oh my God.
You have to download an app to get into the Intuit Dome. You have to put in, if you want to buy anything, you don't go in and you use your card. This is the crazy.
You have to have the right amount of flair.
Oh, guys, I hate the Intuit Dome. I never want to go there again.
Oh, is it beyond flair?
It's a shitty venue. The vibe is awful. And
You mean you had to have more than the minimum 13 pieces of flair?
No, it feels like
I think the flair thing is going over his head.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
But it's not flair. Your phone is reading you everywhere you go. It's where our society is going, and it's freaky as hell. For me, I'm not on board yet. So check this out. When you walk in to buy beer, I walk up to the gate. I'm not holding my phone or anything. I walk up to the gate, and the gate says, "Hi, Joe," and I'm like, "What in the fucking fuck?" It's reading my phone in my pocket. I go through the turnstile. I grab what I'm going to buy, a couple beers, and then there's no check stand. You turn around, and I'm going, "Wait a minute. We just walk out?" And the person's going, "It will know." What do you mean, it will know? We walk out, and I'm going, I think we just we're drinking for free. Right? Well, guys.
No, you paid in DNA.
No. The charge went through. I just found
Debt authorization, October 13th, 9:11 a.m., $13.95.
And bless you. Don't die.
I inhaled a chip.
Yeah, you did.
And now I inhaled some whiskey. I'm having trouble with this.
We're doing good.
Sorry, guys.
Erico, come home. Yeah, so the charge went through. It did know. I grabbed my stuff. I went through the turnstile out, and it read my shit.
You know, I got so used to that little Whole Foods thing that it started working for me. I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm okay with this." And then it turned out it was just a pilot program, and then the one day I went in there, and it was all taken out. And I'm like, "What? I was all ready to just walk in. No. Now you have to go stand in line. I'm like, oh, fuck me. Ah.
Yeah, it sucked. And Brendan, you're right. And V for vicious, 666. Yeah, fuck that invasive shit. I agree with you, man. But you can't get in as an adult or buy anything without the stupid thing. So I don't ever want to go back.
Hey,
And
watch
the
it.
vibe there was awful. Getting out was awful. The exits were awful. It was just, it sucks.
Well, one of the things that I've been doing, like in my downtime, is watching movies, and I love watching movies, and especially like
Disney
discovering movies that I've never seen before that were actually pretty good. And I watched a Scarlett Johansson movie called Lucy,
Oh, wait.
and
Lucy is,
it's great.
I think
It was a cool movie, and I totally related to it. And so if you get a chance, watch Lucy. It's from like 2012 or 2013 or something like that. She ends up getting dosed by some
Wait a minute. I saw this film.
this really intense.
I thought it sucked.
Really, I thought it was a lot of fun, and I'll tell you why I thought it was a lot of fun. It could, I can see how it would suck for somebody that
Has taste.
no, somebody that never really had one of those really right on the borderline. If I go any farther, I'll be insane for the rest of my life. Acid trips,
Oh.
right on the edge where you go. The universe seems like really clear and logical to me now. And then an hour later, like, what the hell was I thinking? What was that? Where I thought I felt so in tune with everything, and then whoosh, that was gone. There was an element of that in that movie.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
There's that one thing, and there's the other thing where at the beginning, she's just this, I don't know what's happening to me. I don't know who these people are. I don't know how to defend myself against this. I'm just this vulnerable woman that's like going, what the hell's going on? What's going to happen to me?
She was not a serious person in her previous life.
Right.
Right?
And she went from not being serious to being so focused that nobody even could begin to understand.
And then she's the baddest ass you've ever seen, right?
Yeah, and that was the part that I really dug. And when I saw that, I related to it because I've seen myself in situations where all of a sudden you see people around you sort of coalescing and trying to corral you into being what they want you to be. And you either get intimidated and you go, what do I do? What do I do? Or you just go, and you look at how they're playing the game that they created. Mm-hmm. And my first thought was, oh, okay, I understand the game. I understand the rules to your game now. And that's how you defend yourself. Once you understand the rules of their game, then you up the game and you play with them. And then it becomes, well, you may have invented this game, but I'm going to add up to it a little bit.
It's the most adaptive way to approach life, to be honest.
Well, I think
right?
so. And that's what I really related to in her character in this movie was like she went from being, vulnerable, like, easily.
Not a serious person.
Yeah.
Yeah. To like,
this is how the world works. Okay. New rules.
Eaten. Yeah.
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 And so I really enjoyed that. And then I went and watched a movie that I watched before that I really liked called, man.
Sorry, dude.
That Chipotle.
Want some water?
Yeah, that Chipotle got stuck in my throat. What was it?
Here, I'll get some more of that sparkling.
No.
Where's it at?
It's in the refrigerator.
Cool.
In the bottle with the silver top on it.
Cool.
I don't remember, and I don't even know what I'm rambling about right now. I'm just
The second movie.
I'm just sort of adapting to life without the person that I accommodate and who accommodates me every day in my life. So there's a gestation period where you sort of get used to that, and then the absence of that, and then the adaptation of that, and by the time she gets back, it's going to be really an interesting sort of dynamic. Let's see what you've unlearned that I have to reteach you, and my response is going to be no, that gig is all up. This is a whole new ball game. But it'll be fine because she'll have done the same thing, right?
Right.
If we're just guys talking about independence for the women in our lives, if we're the typical guy, the arrogant, stupid guys, we're thinking, we're sort of like now everything is all shifted back to normal again when she gets back. Well, an intuitive person would think she's been through that same process.
Right.
So when she gets back, now it's a whole new reconciliation, right? It's a whole new...
The one thing that I would say, just as, if I could be so presumptuous as to give you some advice.
Ooh, yeah.
Aaron and I, when we were raising our kids, when either of us would leave to go on business, there's that exactly what you talked about is, the first day or so, it's like, oh shit, like, if you're the one at home, you're like, oh wait, I'm doing double duty because I'm doing what you did and I'm doing what I do. And then you hit your stride and you're like, great, I got it handled. I got the kids.
I'm
doing all this stuff. And here's my little advice thing is I noticed that when one of us would get back in town, if you didn't watch it, those first couple days of reintegration would be the flashpoints for arguments. Because you're like, wait, now you're encroaching on my shit. Like, I had this together.
Yeah.
And now you're coming back and you're pulling it back. Hold on, this was great. I had it dealt with.
Yeah.
And it's not that you're doing it right and they're doing it wrong or vice versa. It's just you're kind of getting into these patterns and you
the
feel
role
like
readjustments.
So I think, when she comes back, just my tiny little advice, just be conscious of this could be a little sensitive. And we're going to be a little bit more conscious, a little bit more self-aware, breathe deeply a little bit more.
Okay, you've been around the organization long enough to have seen that it can be explosive from time to time.
I haven't seen explosive.
Well,
I see healthy, like stubborn people. And
you
just everybody cares.
Yeah, and I think that at the root of it, that's the primary thing, is that everybody is focused and cares and wants the ultimate top outcome. But yeah, we do this anyway. We grind things out when it gets contentious. We grind things out. But what we always do is, with the team around us, we prepare them for that.
Interesting.
Instead of trying to hide it, like, well, this is, those guys like are at each other's throats all the time. We tell people coming in when they first get hired at our company, we go, there's something that you need to know about the chemistry of this company, and it's this.
Oh, I like that.
And it's gonna be like that.
And don't be afraid.
And don't be afraid of it.
Lean into it. It's
because
cool.
If that intimidates you, and we've had people that had really contentious parents who
that's super triggering. Like, I don't want to be around that shit.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't end well. And you're like, no, it ends well around here.
It ends well around here.
We just fucking do this for a while, and then we figure it out.
Yeah.
And
we're like sharpening each other's horns all the way through that.
Yeah.
But it's okay. If you're sensitive about that or intimidated by that, I'm telling you now, don't take the job. If you think that you can manage that, we'll give you a shot. And most of the time people go, I'm glad that you told me about that. I've never had anybody say anything like that
really cool
to me
heads
before.
Up. Yeah.
And then and they don't see it for a while, but then when it does happen, like a new hire would go, oh, I see what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
But you guys handled that really well. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, it's really a funny
Yeah.
dynamic.
Yeah.
But what it is, it's a dynamic about the creative direction of everything. But also what's happening is as the company's growing, one person is handling more of the administrative role,
Yeah.
and the other person is handling more of the creative role. Now,
Yeah.
she's perfectly capable of doing a lot of really intense creative stuff.
Erica's
And I am
so
capable of
talented.
doing administrative stuff, although I detest that part.
Yeah. Yeah.
She doesn't. That's where we really differ. She's comfortable in the creative zone, and she's comfortable in the administrative zone. I'm comfortable, I'm totally excel and thrive in this creative sort of maelstrom of where the hell even is reality at this point, and then I work my way out of it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But when it comes to the administrative part, it's like crawling on my hands and knees through monkey vomit all day long. It's like, what sane
cool imagery.
person thinks that this is an acceptable way to live through a day, to occupy your day in this space? What possible good can come from that? That's an extreme reaction, but that's my
You
reaction.
can keep your doors open and keep doing your creative shit. But it
But
sounds
if
like
it comes down to if somebody tries to attack our company
Yeah.
from the outside,
yeah.
I'm the person that they have to get past.
Right.
And in the past, when somebody's tried to abscond with a trademark or threaten us legally for whatever reason, everybody else is going, oh, we got to hire lawyers. What do we do? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm the one that just goes, fuck you think you're up to?
See, and that's a really cool, like, I've known you long enough, and I pay attention to this in people. It's really interesting. I've had to learn to do a lot of that, but it does not come naturally for
It doesn't
me.
come naturally. It didn't come naturally to me either.
Really? Because you seem to really embrace in a way that I don't. I have to put my helmet on and go, all right, fuck, I'm going to have to do this or I
I
get
do the
walked
same
on.
thing.
But you see, to me, it looks on the outside like you're going, all right, fucker, you want to act that way? Here we
Okay,
go.
in the past, I did the same thing. I went, all right, I have to get the flak jacket on and get the helmet on and get in this mode.
That's how I feel.
Now, and it doesn't happen very often, but now when there is an attack, I just chuckle to myself. Like, oh, this is how we're going to play today. And when I do that, then Erica goes, no, we have to take this seriously. No, I'm taking it seriously.
I'm just not scared.
I'm just putting on my outfit.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is an interesting thing to talk about, actually.
And that means, you know who's really good at this? Who's really fucking good at this? And I bitch about this person all the time because he drives me fucking batshit crazy. But I respect him at the same time because he's really good at this. And are you ready?
Yeah.
Mike Matthews.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mike Matthews, when the Russian mafia went after him, he went this old, crazy, freaky-haired freak of a human being, went head-to-head with the Russian mafia and prevailed.
I didn't know anything about this.
They tried to take away his factory in Russia because they wanted the real estate. It was prime real estate.
Okay.
And they were going to, instead of just going, hey...
By the way, can you tell everybody who Mike Matthews is?
Mike Matthews
you don't
is
mind.
the CEO and principal owner of New Sensor Corporation. New Sensor Corporation is the parent company of Sovtek tubes, Muller tubes, Gold Lion tubes, Sovtek, Svetlana tubes, tongue salt tubes. All of the tubes that are produced in the
So-
Russian factory are produced by Mike Matthews, the same guy that makes all the pedals, the big muff.
Everybody who is watching this broadcast has, like, Mike Matthews has affected your life because you're into
one
this
way
shit.
or
Yeah,
another.
yeah.
This guy is in your DNA. This
Yeah.
freak, this stogie chewing guy with shit tons of money in the bank, and he just looks like he's
Chris is asking, is the same guy as Electro Harmonics founder?
He is Electro Harmonics.
Okay.
His first print ad in a magazine in 1968 was a topless woman with electrical tape over her nipples.
Doesn't he have like a hot tub in his...
He used to have a hot tub. Yeah, no, that
In
they've
the
moved
office space?
out of that location.
Oh, okay. I
But
remember
he is
Neil telling me about that.
But he has been doing battle against pretty serious forces of evil all his career, and he does not shrink from those challenges. And when the Russian mafia, instead of coming,
Brendan says I looked him up. He looks insane.
he does look insane. I
don't even know what he looks like.
He is functionally insane. That's his sword.
Oh, like, you don't want to fuck with me? You're like, ugh. Maybe I'll think twice.
He's not.
You're
He's
unhinged.
not. He doesn't put on that aggressive front. He's just like, oh, here, let me send you a document to sign. Or,
That's the scariest
So-
guy, right?
yeah, the guy that you can't scare, the
Yeah.
guy that you can't freak out, the guy that you can't elicit.
And then you're like, wait a minute. You just said that in the calmest tone of voice, and that was a fucking threat. And I almost missed it. Oh, I need to look out for you. That kind of guy.
When somebody attacks another person and the other person doesn't react, that's how you know you've fucked with the wrong person. Because that means they're already, before you decided to attack them, the microsecond that you attack that person, you realize that they were already 10 steps ahead of you. They were waiting for you to walk in the door, and they got the hand on the lever, and you just realize that you're standing on the trap door.
Yeah.
That's that kind of
Yeah.
mentality. And
'Cause
that's what I respect about him, and I've watched him operate.
Because they're built for it. They have way more experience in it than you'll ever have. They love it.
He went up against the Russian mafia, who
That's
could have
insane.
said, the government could have said, we've got a place for you that will be more productive for you, will help you with logistics, you'll be closer to a port, will help you do the business that you do in our country, we'll make it smoother for you, we just want this plot of land. They could have said that. But what they said was, we're going to just take everything from you and fuck you. And he went, okay. And he went to the federal government, he went to Congress, and he ended up getting through to the Russian embassy. And the U.S. government went, you're fucking with a U.S. citizen, are you nuts?
What the fuck, Chuck?
And they thought, oh yeah, this crazy wild-haired fat guy, he probably doesn't have any resources in the U.S. Well, the U.S. government came and went, here's the line right here. And they went, oh, okay. And they backed off. And all he did was not panic. So I've had a few interactions with him, and he is a nutcase, and you have to speak to him directly. Not directly as in I'm speaking directly to you, but you have to speak to him like directly, man to man. Hey, Mike, I'm drawing the line on this.
Because he doesn't know anything other than
He does,
confrontation.
yeah.
Unless you're like going, hey, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
He's like, it doesn't even register.
And then he'll go, oh, I didn't even realize I was bugging you on that. I'm sorry.
so
and he'll go, okay.
Yeah, I know. a
He
guy like
respects the pushback. If you're in the right, he'll acknowledge that.
that. Yeah.
And if you're not, he'll give it to one of his underlings. Go handle this guy. So I don't know how we got on that, but
You were talking about you respected Mike Matthews because he could don that, or maybe he lived with that hat on, of just being able to handle his business. Where I was talking about.
it's an unorthodox way of we were talking about the administrative side
Yeah.
of the business. I don't give a crap about the administrative side. What our profit margin is, and what is our our ROI, and we've had accountant people come over and go, oh, your ROI is this, your fixed cost, and I'm like, oh God, you're killing me.
Michael
I'm
Torrens on.
Yeah,
Cheers,
just
buddy.
shoot heroin in my eyeballs right now. I've had enough of this. I know that stuff intrinsically. Doesn't mean I have to live it every day. I live the crystal lattice, the anti-crystal lattice. That's where I live, and that's where I need to occupy my entire being, is there, not in this administrative boondoggle that everybody else seems to enjoy. Oh, okay, well, we got to go deal with the state, we got to deal with the federal stuff, we got to deal with the regulatory this and that, and blah, blah. Look, I understand. A company needs to behave a certain way with regard to the government, with regard to an environment, with regard to employee relations, with regard to all this stuff. Totally on board with that. Great. I don't lose any sleep over regulation. I don't lose any sleep over tax law. I don't lose any sleep over any of that, because it's all manageable. It's all just understanding how those things work, how they will impact your business, and how they need to be managed so that the impact is manageable, so that we can do the thing that we want to do.
That's what you want to do.
That's what I want to do.
The thing that you want to do.
The things that I want to do.
Yeah.
And at the size and scale that we're at, regulatory stuff sometimes can be overbearing. Oh, we're a really small company, and those things are like way too much effort. Well, the deal with those kinds of things is regulatory stuff can be overbearing.
Okay.
It can be difficult to understand and work into your way of doing your business.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do about that? You go to the agency and go, that's great for a company that's got 100 employees, but when you got 10, it's a little overbearing. And they go, oh, well, you're just like, you need to look at subsection C, blah, 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 blah. There's an exception for you in that.
Oh, interesting.
You just have to be able to go and find who to speak to and ask the right question, and then it becomes manageable. Not only does it become manageable, but then you'll find a person that goes, not only is it manageable, but we got a program aimed specifically at companies like yours.
That's
that
interesting.
we can provide you with a $50,000 grant program that will help you over the bumpy parts of this. And I'm just, wait a minute. This is how we've made it over this really bumpy period where you've seen a lot of other companies just disappear. Is that just ask the questions and not be antagonistic, and not take this stuff personal, and look at what it is that we're trying to accomplish. What do we want to do it by the end of the day, and how do we want our employees and our people to feel when they go home? I feel comfortable, I feel safe, I feel like I can go to a place where I can enjoy doing my job, and that I can take care of my family, and that's all I care about. Those people, we have to have an infrastructure that answers those questions.
Yeah.
And so one part of the business is dealing with all the administrative stuff, and then there's the other part of the business is when I'm not trying to crack the code of what a product that we created previously can be in the current the current, what did I call it, the current context of what that product can be now.
The zeitgeist of now.
Yeah, when I'm not
Yeah.
dealing with that, I have to go, All right. Well, I have to have a bigger view of what the administrative side is dealing with and try to figure out where the wormhole is to find the shortcut to who can I talk to have a conversation about that. And this is how we operate. It's a challenging, squirrely, fun, exciting environment. And one of the things that helps us deal with that is being in a productive work environment, which is what our current factory has become. Right? You've been there, you've seen it, you felt it. It's like everything just feels like there's no friction in here.
We actually, I don't know, guys, if you saw it, but when Fryette moved from North Hollywood to Chatsworth last August and September, I made a couple videos kind of detailing that moving process. And we actually just did a video the other day, just, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes long or something. Here's the state of the factory now, a year later.
That was only 10 minutes?
I think it was more than that, but I'll try and cut it down.
Yeah,
But-
make sure it's more than 10 minutes.
It's just, I mean, you know, half the team was out when I was shooting it, but
Sorry.
really, did you see something?
Brandon.
But I mean, you guys are humming in there.
Brandon, you're a fucking genius.
Brandon's great. You're all great.
You see that? Brandon's comment?
Where the buses don't run. Well, I watch you run off of inspiration for sure.
You know what I love about the
and
show?
You need someone to, like an Erico, which, how do you find an Erico, right?
You don't. She finds you.
But
you know what I love about the show is comments like that. Just comments like that. That's how I know that there's a group of people out there that get what we're doing.
Like, I remember on the last episode, I was like, I feel seen. You feel seen. Yeah. So anyway, we've had the same question from Carlos up here forever. I think you answered it.
Seattle, Chris. Answer your question.
So here's another question. You ready?
Yeah.
This is from Arch, who I don't remember commenting on the show before. So welcome, Arch. Good evening from Texas.
There's one thing I will agree with you.
There's only one thing you'll agree with
Well,
me on?
one specific thing I will agree with you right now.
Yeah.
That's some wicked guacamole.
It's fucking wicked.
It's coming into its own now. It's been, what, half an hour? Where are we?
It's been an hour and 23 minutes. No, because we were eating it like 15 minutes before it came on. Anyway, yeah, it's a different beast now.
Yeah.
The salt has definitely chilled the hell out. If I had a criticism before, it was just a little.
That's because it's the
Well, it was super fresh.
it's the crystallized sea salt
Yeah.
thing. So it broke down into smaller.
Look, I loved it at the beginning, and I love it now. So anyway, here's a
What am I
question
drinking?
for Steve. You're drinking Michter's right now.
Thank you.
We're about to switch. Would you ever consider creating an analog solid-state amp? Maybe it's silly to ask. It's never silly to ask, but a full-fledged solid-state Fryette would be amazing. And that would be a really interesting thing. I don't think it's a silly thing to ask.
It's not a silly thing to ask. It's a legitimate thing to ask. And why is it a legitimate thing to ask? And why does anybody even ask that? And we grind on this all the time. For 25 years, amplifier companies have been saying, we've made a solid state amp that sounds like a tube amp. How many companies have made that claim? And how many of those products came to the market and went right straight to the landfill? How many times? I can't count the number of times. You probably can't count the number of times. What I can count is the number of times that companies came close.
Ooh, I'd love to know who you consider came close.
Well, I don't have any problems with identifying who might have come close. But then,
Dave, was really tickling my nacho crunching ASMR kink. I feel bad crunching on here, guys.
The problem is there's a context to the word close. Close functionally, close sonically, close in terms of cost and performance. There's all kinds of different interpretations of what close means. To you, the guitar player, close means what? Sounds close? Feels close? Whenever we ask ourselves that question, we have to refine the context. And the context demands that we talk about a specific thing. When a company says that we've got a solid state amp that sounds like a tube amp, we have to take them literally at their word. Mm-hmm. Sound.
I love this conversation.
Sound. That means that if you are in a demo room with the company's sales rep and you got the company's chosen artist rep or artist demo guy, and you have a tube amp A and the company's solid state tube amp replacement B and an A-B switch, and you got a guy playing and you switch A, B, and we do this all the time, and you've been there. Sure. And then you go, yeah, I can't hear any difference. You guys nailed it! Woo! And then it goes out of the market and it goes, why? Well, okay. Now put yourself in a different context. There's no sales guy. The company has amp A that you're familiar with, the actual amp that you personally own and understand, next to, Jimmy, you're close, next to the company offering that's supposed to compete with that, and you're playing. And you're not Eddie, you're not Nuno, you're not any of these guys. You're not at the level of the player that the company, anointed artist is at. But you play it and you go, that thing makes all the hair on my arm stand up, and the thing that you're saying that's the replacement for it is, I wouldn't pay a nickel for that. What happened? What happened is the definition of we nailed it is so much more multifaceted than the marketing speak that they give to you will allow. That's what the problem is. Who are they aiming the product? Who are they speaking to? What aspect of the performance of the original thing and the replacement thing are they focusing on? So in order for the replacement technology to replace the thing that it proposes to replace, it has to be universally replaceable in context. Anybody playing through the replacement has to have a takeaway from that that appeals to their concept that it got replaced. And there are so many aspects to that one thing can't possibly do that. When they get to the point where they've replaced every characteristic of the favorite amp that you play through, it's been replaced by the new technology that purports to replace it, then it has been replaced. Until that happens, only a fraction of it has been replaced. And in true marketing fashion, the manufacturer recognizes that there is only a percentage of the replacement having occurred. And in order for you to buy in, the fraction of the replacement that has occurred should, and I'm just spitballing here, should be the approximate difference in the price between the two. So if the replacement technology only replaced the technology in 25% of all cases, then it should cost 25% of the original. So if the original cost $1,000 and the replacement only replaced 25% of the original in the overall context of what's replaceable, then the replacement should cost $250. And if you think of it that way, and you see how much modelers and solid-state replacement amplifiers and all that stuff cost, boom, hey, look at that. The amplifier that I was going to buy that cost $5,000, the modeler is like only $1,500. That's about 25%. Yeah, they already did that calculation. They already know who their market is. The guys, the girls, whoever, are making this calculation themselves. Is it worth it to me? How much is it worth to me? Is the fact that I don't have to pay a roadie or carry the stuff, I'm too old, it's going to hurt my back, I have to carry it, put it in the trunk, is all that stuff worth a 75% savings to have only 25% of the performance? Sure. Because I'm doing a fucking wedding and who the fuck gives a crap? Great, that's the calculation. But when it comes down to, am I going to sit down and put on my instrument and go like whang and feel everything in my being, all my DNA get moved a few degrees and go, that feeling is irreplaceable. When you feel that, did that get replaced 25%? No. All the other practical considerations may have gotten addressed at that percentage point, and that may be very valid, but that's why it's not 100% a replacement. So when you say to me, why don't you guys do it? You ought to be able to do it because I think you guys can do it. We've been hearing this for years and years and years. You guys should be making a bass amp because you'll make the best bass amp. I just know it in my bones that you're going to make a great bass amp. When are you going to do it? Yeah, we'll get around to it when we get time. We will. There are ideas. I have a concept of a plan.
Yeah.
Was the joke. You had to watch the debates to get that one. But when we can accomplish a replacement technology that achieves that goal, we'll go for it. But just listen to even what I'm saying, replacement technology.
Chris got it. Chris got your joke.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for hanging in there and being on the ball.
K2. I laugh, Steve, for whatever it's worth. Do you feel seen?
I always feel seen. And the great thing about doing this show is I get to help myself be seen. Here's the thing. What I'm trying to reduce this down to a simple concept, which is replacement technology. Just listen to the sound of that replacement technology.
And feel it.
What are we replacing? And why does it need replacing?
You're spinning your wheels.
The reason that you play through a funky old piece of gear or an inefficient, energy-sucking, overweight, high-maintenance piece of gear with a lot of bugaboos built in that you have to navigate around, the reason you embrace gear like that is because there's a great JF Kennedy quote.
There's a couple of those.
We don't do these things because they're easy. We do these things because they are hard, because they demand concentration. They demand our attention. They demand that we excavate and understand and incorporate these things into our our musical pursuits. They demand that we focus and make these things work for us because they push back on us and they make us refine the message that we're trying to create, which is the music that we're creating. That's the message. That's what we're trying to put out there to communicate with people, to connect with people, to impact people, to engage with people. Those things are not easy, and no piece of digital technology makes that any easier. It makes the field bigger, wider, but it doesn't make the connection to the other person's soul easier. When Hendrix went on Dick Cavett, and Cavett said, "Why do you play so loud?" And he said, "Because I need to reach people's soul." He wasn't talking about volume, and Cavett didn't understand the relationship between volume and connection to another person's soul. Hendrix saw that as the VPN at the time, the direct conduit from what he was doing to the people in the audience that he was trying to reach. And that doesn't mean that you reach everybody. You have an audience, and they have a variable level of reachability. Some people are just like, that was loud, that was great. Other people are like, there was some funny sounds in there that were really interesting. There was other people that were like, did you see him? He was just like barely able to stand, he was so high. And there was other people that went, that was a religious experience to me. Those are the people that he reached. What he meant when he said he was using volume to reach them was just as much about clearing the field of the people that he wasn't reaching as it was focusing his message on the people that he wanted to reach and did ultimately reach. So that's why a lot of people just like, it was just, all I remember about Hendrix, he was loud and out of tune. And another person went, all I remember was my entire DNA got rearranged and I became a different person out of that. And Clapton will tell you that, and Beck would tell you that, and every creative guitar player of note would tell you that same thing, that they got reached. Name me one digital product that anybody can play through on a live stage and say, that guy reached into my being and grabbed my heart and yanked it out and showed it to me and said, look at this and make your own thing out of it. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen yet. It could, but it'll take a while, and it isn't going to be because of the sound. It's going to be because eventually, at some point, a digital musical instrument is going to have to impact the end user the same way that Hendrix played a Strat through a Marshall and impacted people. And until that happens, it's simply a cheaper, more efficient, more cost-effective tool to do a project.
We have a couple guys chiming in here that's funny. I had the same reaction as you guys. There are so many directions we can go from that, but we're not, because we have other questions to answer.
Okay.
But I would actually, but here's the thing, Flo and Carlos. I agree with you guys 100%. Meshuggah is a great example of people who have used modeling gear and have that type of effect on people. It's a different, and this is an argument, this isn't an argument for or against, it's just that clearly there's a different type of expression happening between Hendrix playing Machine Gun at the Fillmore East, December 31st or January 1st, 1970, and Meshuggah's expression.
And I'm not saying that it's not possible to do. I'm just saying that that's not the general perception of that product range.
I agree. And like for me, I really like a lot of the older solid state stuff. Hold on. I like a lot of the older solid state stuff, just like we've talked about. I like, you know, the Palmer, some of the Palmer stuff, because it's just a sound.
Let's be real. I saw Chicago live.
With Terry?
Yeah, in
Cool.
1968.
Cool. Where?
And
in Seattle?
At the Eagles Auditorium in Seattle.
Oh, that's awesome.
And their back line was wall-to-wall custom tuck and roll solid
hell
state
yeah.
amps.
Of course.
Nobody gave a rat's ass what they were playing through, because
And they laid waste, I'll bet.
they laid huge waste.
Another cheers. To great sound, no matter how it's achieved, right?
Because as Ron White, the crazy comedian, always says in my favorite quote, it's not that the wind is blowing, it's what the wind is blowing.
Oh, man.
And if you get hit by a Volvo station wagon, it doesn't matter how many sit-ups you did that morning.
Oh, man. Okay. Look, we should do an entire episode on what you were just talking about.
Oh, didn't we just do that?
Well, I would like to contribute to it.
I'm going to shut up.
up.
I'm going to shut up so that you can.
No.
Contribute, I don't mean to suck all the oxygen.
I didn't mean it that way.
No, I know you didn't, but
I just meant like there's a lot of interesting discussion in there.
all right.
Because
there may be so. But can I just do one thing before you do that?
Yeah.
Just real quickly.
Yeah.
Simon, I love you. Brendan, I love you. Flo, I love you. Michael Torrin, I love you. Carlos, I love you. Jesse,
Everybody,
I love you.
man.
These are people that we've interacted with before, and that's what I'm singling you out, because you're here and I love you. And I've had really, really close, dear people close to me last year disappear. So, Chris Stark, I love you. And Adam, I love you. John Gormas, I love you. I'm only singling you guys out because I know who you are and I'm familiar with you. I love all the people that are here, that are contributing to this and commenting, and I appreciate that. I'm just singling out Lou Woods. I love you. Mark Hamster, I love you. I'm singling these particular people out because I feel like I have to let people know that
It's a good idea.
that I love you.
It's a good idea.
Because when somebody disappears and I didn't get that opportunity, I'm pissed at me. So, please continue on wherever it was that I interrupted you.
No, you didn't interrupt me. I think
You were saying,
no. Hold on. What you're just saying there is actually the most important stuff in the world. It doesn't get more important than that.
it's true.
So
I just wanted to do a quick buzz through everything
you know what's happening.
to get caught up. Besides the fact that we're getting fucked up.
We're at that portion of the evening.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we're gonna cry now.
No, we're not going to cry. No, we're not going to cry. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. You
Which,
were
by
saying,
the way, you know, I want to throw this out here because I feel just a little bit of this coming up. The guitar world recently lost a massive personality, spirit, contributor, and I know for you, friend, in Jim Tyler.
a person who contributed in spite of his clientele, not because of his clientele,
Yeah.
which makes him a huge mentor for me.
Look, I unfortunately I never had the chance to meet Jim, you know, but I always knew him. I mean, if you want to talk about being a malcontent, you guys were brothers, and I know Jim and Erico had a massive connection too. And you know, it's one of those things. If you know, if you know, if you don't, I hope you guys do know. I think I've owned 3 different Tylers in my life, and so I just knew him by his wares. I also had a Joe guitar at one point.
And a lot
made
of
in the
people,
USA
a lot
by
of people
assholes.
do. A lot of people say, a lot of companies do that. If you know, sort of tagline.
Yeah, yeah.
When it came from Tyler, it wasn't just it just wasn't an advertising slogan. It was a throwdown.
Yeah,
It was the gauntlet.
yeah.
It was the throwing of the gauntlet. If you know, you know. Meant to him, if you have a clue, you already have a Tyler guitar, and if you don't, then you don't.
And fuck you.
And that's okay with me, because it isn't for everybody.
But we don't want to go too deep with that right now because,
We will later.
yeah, we will actually. I think hopefully the next episode of the Malcontents is really going to be a tribute to Jim. And
2 weeks from now.
yeah, so that's been in the works, and we're going to do that.
Could you
And-
tell me your recipe for this guacamole? Because it's really fucking good.
Hold on. I know I'm jumping here, but I see what Simon is saying. Hey, fellas. Love you guys too. Steve, I sent you an email a couple weeks ago back on Joe's instruction. Oh, I remember that. I was talking to him. Let me know if you didn't get it, and I'll resend. I think it was around a rig that he was putting together. Sorry, Simon. Like, we can revisit that stuff too. Alyssa! Hey, we're almost drunk. It's awesome.
Hi, Lisa. I love you too.
Yeah, we're telling everybody that we love them tonight. So clearly, I love you. Now I don't think Steve is there yet, but we're about to get into the Balvenie 12, the double wood. And
Chris Stark says, my 1993 Pitbull combo was stolen and later found from a pawn shop, and now I need to install a GPS tracker on it.
yeah, not a bad idea.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm looking for... By the way, we should do something about this at some point. On Halloween, around 1984 or 85, my Les Paul Gold Top was stolen from a Dickies show in Hollywood. I'm going to start...
Let's track it down.
I'm going to start working on tracking that down.
Track it down.
Because that was a pretty cool guitar. And what happened is a guy who masqueraded as a guitar tech for the band walked right out of the venue with my guitar and disappeared with it. And I said, "Where's my guitar?" "Oh, your tech took it out." "No, I don't have a tech."
Wow.
"Oh, really?"
Wow.
What was he wearing that allowed him to walk out of the venue with a guitar? What was his ID? "Oh, we didn't really check. He said he was with you, so we took his word."
I think somebody did that with one of Vi's guitars
Yeah.
in Pasadena, right when he joined Raw. And he got the guitar back, so try and get the gold top back.
I just love the idea that a pit bull stared into a person's soul.
But we got to track down Simon's thing.
Okay. Okay.
And I can actually spearhead that because I have the original.
You have a spear.
I'll
and
just
a head?
remind you. I'm lost.
Yeah, good. That was the whole head.
Okay, we're going to do another question, and you're going to do another answer.
And it might not have anything to do with the question.
Well, we talked about Arch's question about the solid state amp. Now we're going to move on to this question. Tell me when you're done fiddling with your phone.
I'm trying to find the. I'm trying to get back on the stupid show so I can see the comments. Where's the?
Are you on?
I don't know what the hell.
You on Facebook?
Oh,
now?
I was on the wrong show. Okay.
Look at this guy.
What?
What? On the wrong show.
What?
Okay, now we get to the bottom of what happens when Nico-chan is gone.
Hey,
now it goes off the
hey,
rails.
let me tell you something about design software.
Tell me something about design software.
Later.
Oh, later.
Getting off philosophical. Love it. Matt, I love you. Let's see. The passion shows in your work. Your products have a life.
Don't
to
take
them
a
that
fee
spoke
into it,
to
Tom. We're not doing that.
Something I could find.
By the way, Alyssa, if you're still on, I was telling everybody about how shit the Intuit Dome is. And how it's a giant data hoarding operation.
All right,
and how
so
I hate it.
So can we like shove this thing off of a cliff and go in a completely different direction?
Well, we got questions in.
Let's go.
All right.
Let's go, babe.
Are you ready?
I'm right here.
Okay.
I've always been right here.
No, you haven't.
I have.
You were on another show. a minute ago.
Hey.
All right. So I'm a huge fan of the PS100. Awesome. I use it with all my amps ranging from 20 to 100 watts. Cabs ranging from 30 to 150 watts. I've always wondered how much can I get away with regarding wattage mismatching.
Byrov? Is that how you pronounce your name? Byrov? Byrov? Where are you? I want to know where you live. Not the exact address. Don't worry. I'm not going to send anybody after you. I'm just curious where you are located.
You just don't want to be stuck saying the name wrong over and over again.
Well, that too. I always like
I
to
feel.
say people's names correctly.
Exactly, yeah. I'm going to get it right.
And I'm always interested in geographical regions. So, let's see.
Don't go on the wrong show.
Well, I'm just, you read it, and I'm looking at it, but I still need to,
We're going off the rails.
I need to reread it so that I can absorb the question. Huge fan of the PS100. I use it with all my amps ranging from 20 to 100 watts and cabs ranging from 30 to 150 watts. I've always wondered how much can I get away with regarding wattage mismatching. Byrov. This is why we do the show, because there is a need to figure out how to convey to our users what our product is, what it does, and how it works. We have tried direct communication. We have tried owner's manuals. And now we've embarked on a Fryette support forum in order to answer questions. And in every one of these endeavors, what we find is before we can answer the question, we have to understand what you're asking. And in order to have a really productive and useful conversation about how to help you integrate our gear into your system, we need to understand what it is you're asking. So we're still working on that. And it's difficult, and we've discussed this really quite a bit, haven't we?
Yeah, yeah.
And what we've identified, the problem is, it's not you,
No,
any of you.
no.
It's not the problem that you're answering the wrong question. Is that the problem? No, that's not the problem. Is the gear the problem? No, that's not the problem. Is the manual the problem? No, that's not the problem. What is the problem? Why is there a gap between what we produce and what the end user understands is the expected outcome from using our gear? What is the roadblock that's preventing people from understanding what that is? And it turns out that there isn't really a clear, concise answer, other than it's a conversation, isn't it?
You know what? That's the truth.
That's the truth.
It's a conversation.
And we, as a small little company, watch news articles about Tesla, about Rivian, about BYD, about all these companies, about Volkswagen, all these companies that are trying to get into the electric vehicle business or are in the electric vehicle business and trying to turn it into a profitable business. Watch any of those videos. And what you find is that they're trying to understand how to communicate with their potential buyer, their audience, what it is they're producing and what is the benefit of the product to them. And the closer they get to understanding what their customer needs to know about their product, the closer they get to start working their way towards profitability. They have these big companies, they're trying to figure out how to build these cars at scale, and they have to buy parts, they have to pay laborers, and they have to build a factory that can produce these things with X amount of efficiency. So they have to be able to produce all of this product at scale and be profitable doing it. And what I've noticed is that buying the parts and producing the vehicles and getting them out the door is a small part of the problem. The big part of the problem is that the organization itself has to be big enough to produce the product that they're selling to the number of customers that potentially will buy it. And that overarching production facility costs a certain amount of money. That's called a fixed cost. The factory, the electricity, the labor cost, the insurance, the taxes that they have to pay,
The Scotch budget,
everything, the employees,
guacamole, catering.
the employees' insurance policies, all of that stuff, those are all lumped into this big box called fixed costs. So when they have a fixed cost, the only way that these companies compete after they've established their organization is they have to build enough cars so that their fixed cost per car that they produce goes down. The fixed cost is never going to go down. It's X. X is a very high number. And the only thing that changes that number is how many cars they produce relative to that fixed cost. So that if the fixed cost is $1 and the cost to produce each car is $50, then the way they increase their profit is to make 100 cars instead of 50, or 200 cars instead of 100, or 400 cars instead of 200. The fixed cost stays the same, but then it's divided by either 50, 100, 200, 400, 500, 1,000, or whatever, because the fixed cost stays the fixed cost. And the way that a EV, electric vehicle car company, becomes profitable is when the fixed cost becomes such a small percentage of the unit cost of the vehicle that they can become profitable. Why am I going into that really esoteric equation
This is
about
We're
cost?
doing the security.
Here's why. Because we are a small company. We are a small business in California is considered $100 million business. That's what small business is considered. When the government says we're helping small business, $10 million to $100 million company, that's small business in the large scheme of things. In that scheme of things, we're a micro business. So in order for us to be profitable, our fixed costs are just a minor fraction of what an EV company is. And our output is a minor fraction of that. Now what we're discovering is that we're making a very specialized, unique product. We're not just making a modified Marshall. We're not just making a modified tube screamer. We're not just making a modified this or that. We're actually developing new ideas and new product designs and new ways of executing on what people understand as an ultimate tube amplifier playing experience. One of the really expensive, time-consuming things that we encounter in the process of doing all this is explaining to you people, and I don't mean you people in a derogative sense, I'm just you people who are aligning with us and signing on to our agenda and saying, yeah, we think that you're giving us something that we want. We have to have a constant communication with you so that you understand what we're doing and why. It's not a one-way conversation. It's a two-way conversation. And the minute that you want to know more depth and detail about what we're doing and how it impacts your ability, how the product that you bought from us impacts your opportunity to take advantage of it and use it in your productive musical lives, is you have to tell us as much about what you're doing as you want us to tell you about how to improve on that. That's the conversation. It's a two-way street. We want that from you. That is a request and a demand and a hope from us to you, that you will understand that
An invitation.
an invitation. We want to hear from you. But we want to know specifically what you know, what you don't know, what you need to know, and what will help you move forward. We want that. We want that from you, and we want to give that back to you. You have to help us with that. Why did I go through all that?
This is a hell of a pitch for the support forum.
Byrov, ask a question. It is full of context issues that we need to resolve. How can we answer his question within the context that he asked it without knowing what that context is? We can only guess. We can just assume. And if we assume and guess, we're not going to answer the guy's question. We're going to give him, We're going to give him what Amazon gives you, which is, well, I just read your question. I went on Google and did just what you could do. And I asked Google AI the question that you asked, and this is the answer I got. So they basically, you went to the well and you put a bucket in the well and you got a bucket of water and you tasted it and it tasted like oil. And you're going, why does my water taste like oil? And you went to the company that owns the well and said, why does my water taste like oil? And they went, we don't know why the water tastes like oil. We'll contact our superiors and get back to you. And then about a week and a half later or 2 weeks later or a month later, they go, oh, well, you know what? You didn't go to the water well. You went to the oil well. That's why it tastes like oil. And it took you weeks and weeks and weeks to figure that out because you had no idea you were looking at the wrong well. This is what we are trying to do. This is why we established Support Forum, the Fryette Support Forum. We're trying to get away from caustic, toxic forums that don't give you good information. We're trying to get away from Amazon style customer service information that is customer service, which is, we performed a customer service by answering your question. It's a useless answer to a useless question, and you got nothing out of it, but you got an answer in 15 minutes. Isn't that great customer service? Well, it was great response time, but it was a shit answer because I still don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to be doing with your gear. What's the deal with you guys? The deal with us is we're trying to figure out a way to communicate with you and get feedback back from you so that we can actually answer your question. So, Byrov, I'm sorry I didn't mean to make an example out of you, but you posed a perfect example of the issue. There's no such thing as wattage mismatching. So we don't know what that means. I can't answer your question because I don't know what you mean by wattage mismatching. I don't know what you mean by you have amplifiers ranging from 30 watts to 150 watts. What does that really mean to you in the context of things? We're going to require from you a little bit more detail and context about how you're using it and what you want to know about how to move your game forward. And we are uniquely positioned to be able to answer those questions, but we need to understand your question. So if I go way, way off about, Tesla and EVs and blah, 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 I'm trying to illustrate something that we are not trying to blow you off. We're not trying to ignore your questions. We're not trying to evade the customer service responsibility of our company. What we're trying to do is find out what the context of your question is so that we can really be useful to you after the service, after the sale, after the point where you need to go use our product in a productive environment. So thank you for listening to my TED rant.
The TED rant.
And I think I coined a new phrase.
Yes. Well,
I hope you found that useful and informative.
Byrov. I would suggest going on the, what is it?
Support.fryette.com.
Great. Okay, so now here's the deal. We're over 2 hours. Do you remember on the last show when we did speed round?
Yep.
And you had the challenge of doing the most succinct answers of all
10
time?
questions in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, you ready?
Although I want to read some of the comments real quick.
Some of the non-gear questions we're gonna just skip because I think the moment passed. No offense intended.
Good start. Speed round.
Yeah. All right. This is actually
Okay.
this is from Chris.
Oh.
Which, by the way,
Before we do this,
yeah.
hold that thought just one
Yeah.
second. These kinds of YouTube shows. I just watched the last Friedman one, which was on a Tuesday night rather than like he usually does it on Saturday.
Okay.
He did the part 2 of the
What now Dave's doing?
who was the guitar player that played with Ozzy and a bunch of different bands?
Which one?
The really good guitar player.
They're all really good.
Yeah, but
Like recently? Not
Yeah.
Zach Wilde.
no.
Joe Holmes.
No.
Jakey Lee.
Yes.
Oh, they
He
did,
did
Jakey Lee part 2.
And it was
Did
great.
they get ripped like before?
It was great.
The original one was insane.
The original one was insane. Part 2 was succinct and focused, and Jakey,
Wait, sober?
and Jakey Lee was like, I never related so. I was watching that going. I had just left the shop. I was just shutting down my computer, and it was a Tuesday night, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm shutting down my computer, and I got a notification that Tone Talk was on. I'm like, it's Tuesday, what the fuck's going on? So I checked in, and it's Jakey Lee Part 2. And I started listening to it,
Nice.
and I'm going, the guy is focused, he's succinct. He's like really zeroing in, and not only that, he's being brutally honest about shit.
Oh, cool.
And I went, this is cool. And I meant to, I was going to text Dave and say, this is a really engaging, intriguing show.
Oh, that's cool.
But I was driving, so I couldn't. And I tried to do it on Siri, and Siri wouldn't recognize that I was trying to communicate with a YouTube blah, 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 blah. So I gave up. But it was really an intriguing show, and Jake was really nailing it to the wall, and he was being brutally honest. And I dug the shit out of it. 2 takeaways from that. One, tuning is irrelevant. Right fucking on! Right fucking on! And not only did he say tuning is irrelevant, but he said in the context of the history of tuning music, all the way back to the 1400s, he was quoting historical evidence to support his claim, which was mind-bogglingly focused and right on. I immediately went from Jakey Lee's a burned out old nutcase to this guy's got it fucking nailed. That was number one. That was issue number one. The second thing he said was the pocket is irrelevant. Time is irrelevant. You listen to music, and the idea that everybody has to play to a click track from the beginning of the track to the end of the track guarantees that the track is going to be soulless and lifeless. And I'm like, I almost drove off the fucking freeway sideways. I almost rolled my car off of an exit. I'm going, yes, somebody finally said it on a forum that's got good visibility and from a voice that people usually go, is this guy out of his mind? No, he was dead to rights on this issue. If you listen to Beatles, if you listen to Jethro Tull, if you listen to Yes, if you listen to 70s prog, anything, you find that time is relative, that tuning is relative, and the musical conclusion of the performance that you're doing is the point, and the time and the pitch is irrelevant as long as it's all in the proper context. And I'm just driving along going,
I would argue.
You can argue, but you can't argue with the fact that there are so many examples of that in
It's context dependent, though.
It's context.
Like Meshuggah came up. Meshuggah like blows so many things out of the water. Like
Anyway, I want you to finish your thought. I just wanted to say kudos to Friedman and Jakey Lee for an outstanding show.
That's awesome. I'm glad they did a second one because I think I mean, at least the last time Dave was on, he was saying that was their best show, like easily, without.
That to me was like, I'm like,
That was like peak tone talk.
I'm screaming in my car on the way home.
Yeah.
Going, yeah.
And Jakey's such a beast.
Anyway, you were saying,
Oh, I was just
context
saying,
dependent.
like, anytime you're like, okay, here's an absolute, there's always an exception, And I think, like, within guitar-driven music, like, Meshuggah is the shining example. Oh, you're going for more.
well,
very
you weren't going to
impressed.
play me another one, so I have to do it myself.
I wasn't going to pour it. No, I'm good. No, now you're doing a Dave Friedman. That's how I wound up on the floor. Anyway, whatever I was saying wasn't that important. We need to do the speed round so we can get through this.
Okay, we're doing a speed round.
Because I have college homework that I got to get home and do.
I've
can't
got
be
like 5 new designs that I'm working on with my new software.
Okay, so we're gonna do.
Oh, see, you didn't even take the bait.
No, because we can't do that. We gotta get through these. Okay, so. I just had one. Okay. This is a question. Actually, this is from Chris, who, by the way, Chris said later down in the chat that Chris is in Silver Lake. He's near the Whole Foods. Like, I'm assuming, like, right off of Glendale Boulevard.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. That's awesome, Chris. It's crazy we haven't met. But what was your first guitar amplifier you created for mass distribution, and what specific sound were you looking for?
My throat is very dry, sorry. The weather's here pretty hot, so I've got the air conditioner cranked. It's drying out my throat a little bit, so I'm a little hacky. But, Chris, I'm never looking for a specific sound. I'm always trying to develop a platform from which the player can create their specific sound. The whole idea that an amplifier gives the artist the sound that you know them for is not a valid concept for me. It's not in the realm of reality. It's not in the realm of what a company does. Anybody that says, I'm going to give you Eddie's sound, I'm going to give you Eric's sound, I'm going to give you Jeff's sound, I'm going to give you Jimmy's sound. No. No way. Mario Andretti.
Remember, short answer.
This is going to be short. This is going to be short because I've been to the Indy 500
I trust you.
and I've hung with people that hung with Mario Andretti. And
Mario Andretti.
all the guys that are trying to beat Mario Andretti are doing exercises. They're doing cardio. They're drinking water. They're abstaining from sex. They're getting the maximum amount of sleep the night before the blah, blah, blah. And what's Mario doing? He's hanging off the balcony downtown Indiana at the biggest, the highest, the penthouse hotel room, the tallest hotel in Indiana, drinking and partying nonstop until the time that he has to get in the car and go line up at the starting gate. That's what he's doing. I saw it. I saw it. I saw him do that. Everybody else is trying to, like, zero in their performance and blah, 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 blah. And Andretti is like, woohoo! Oh, do we have to get to the car now? Or can you get me there in time? They pour him into the car and say,
Pour him into
Go.
the car. That's a good one.
that's the difference between the guy that sets the rules and everybody else that tries to figure out what the hell rule one is. Rule one is just wake up. That's rule one. And the rest of it is you better find your own path, bro, because that's what it is. And that path means that you find a direction. It does not mean that you try to recreate lightning in a bottle. That's just insanity to think that that's what this is
This is
about.
the problem with solid state amplifiers.
That's a problem with any amplifier. Tube, solid state, class D, I don't care. When an amplifier becomes this little molecular thing that you can paint on your fingernail and it can put out 1,000 watts, it isn't gonna fucking matter until somebody takes it and makes a new thing out of it.
And that's not what I think solid state amps are kind of done because modeling stuff kind of took that over.
I think
in that space.
I'm going to say something really against the direction that we're going, and that is whether it's tube or solid state is absolutely irrelevant. It's only relevant when somebody picks up their guitar and plugs into it and does a thing that galvanizes everybody and goes, I have to figure out what that is. That's the advancement of music and excitement and the next creative boundary. Doesn't matter what they're playing through. The only reason that we hang on to the tube technology is because there hasn't been anything else that we have played through, experimented with, tried, or implemented that we felt this is worth upending all the development and energy and focus that we put into the products that we've been making so far and go this way. And the minute, the second, the millisecond that occurs to us, that there is another better, simpler, easier, more effective, more creative, more functional way to do that that we find a guitar player that can grab onto that and go, I know what to do with this, and that is never going to happen. Sun, the engineer, designer of Sun amps, called the Jimi Hendrix tour and talked to the guitar tech and screamed at the guitar tech, Jimi Hendrix is doing it all wrong. Please, already. Next question.
What was the first amp that you created for mass distribution? And then we'll wrap this one up.
I never created anything for mass distribution. I created something to align with what I felt would best enable a musician to find a path for themselves to create a new thing with. That's all it was about. It was never about mass distribution, mass production, mass anything. Every time we came up with something, some other company would go, hey, let's figure out how we can make 10,000 of these. You can make 10 million of them. It's not going to make a fuck all difference to the guitar players until somebody plugs in and goes, I'm going to change the entire paradigm of music playing through this thing.
But what was the first one that was mass distributed?
Nothing was ever mass distributed.
Well, what was your first, the first amp that's what he's asking, is what is the first amp that was, this is the VHT amplifier.
2150 power amp.
And then what was the first, real guitar amp?
Pitbull.
All right. Okay, next question. Hi, Steve. Do you think the past solid-state amp designs got hindered by trying too hard to imitate tube amps, and that they would fare better if they just made something that isn't trying to imitate anything?
Absolutely, Adam. Dead on. You're absolutely right. The tube amplifier, and I've said this before, if the tube amplifier came first, if the solid state amplifier came first, tube amplifier companies would be scrambling to try to make them behave like solid state amplifiers.
Okay, next question.
This is really good.
This is from. This is no longer bourbon. Now we're drinking scotch.
It doesn't matter.
There was a lot of talk about the Z-Rec.
Yeah.
Right? Let's see. The Synergy module's 0-watt power amp and phase inverter that the module came out. How much does having that really matter? And could future module revisions borrow that design?
Yeah, it matters. Implementation is one thing. But yeah, it matters. And I had approached Synergy in 2016 with that idea and said, we can do this and we can get it kind of halfway there, but if you guys would agree to modify the platform a little bit to give us a little bit more leeway in the design, more headroom, more voltage to work with, we could make this thing phenomenal. And they went, interesting concept. No. So that got shelved until last year. They came out with the Z-Rec module and made an output transformer coupled phase inverter as the last stage out of the module going into the platform. And that was a sort of a reductionist version of what we originally proposed to them, which sort of makes sense. I'm not saying that they did anything wrong or bad. They just did a subset of what we were originally suggesting, and it does work, and it's cool sounding. We like the sound of it. You tried it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, feels great.
Yeah, super cool.
What we had proposed was something. We proposed something a little different, and we are still trying to get them on board with what we think is a better expression of that. But hey, anytime I understand their MO, which is they're dealing with a lot of range of players that in a number of cases, one, they have old material, they have old modules, they have the old platform. They're trying to accommodate players that already have earlier versions of the stuff. And I was always a big advocate right from the very beginning that move the whole platform forward. Don't worry so much about reverse compatibility. I was advocating for moving the platform forward because reverse compatibility was a good thing in terms of not alienated players that already had the old systems that they wanted to be able to incorporate into the new systems. But that would just be like Apple saying, oh, we're not going to really make the iPhone much more productive than it was 10 years ago because we don't want to anger any of the people that have the iPhone 3 or 4. And here we are at iPhone 16 now, and they do amazing fucking things. I just took a picture of Mount Rainier in Seattle that when I took the picture and zoomed in and looked at it, I almost fell on my ass. It was so amazing of a photograph. It was an incredible photograph.
What phone do you have?
I have an iPhone 16. Oh my God, I didn't ever consider myself a photographer, but when I took that picture, I was standing on my mom's porch near Lake Washington.
I saw that picture, yeah.
Near Lake Washington, and I took a picture of Mount Rainier from there. And it was a hazy day. When you were standing on the porch looking at Mount Rainier, you couldn't hardly see the mountain. I took the picture anyway, and when I zoomed in on it, that's the picture I posted on Instagram.
Oh, you put it up there.
In that high relief, that just majestic mountain floating in air with all that depth and detail. That was a 10 times.
Phone?
Huh?
That's from your damn phone.
That was a 10 times amplification of the original photo that I took. Let me show you the original photo I took of Mount Rainier. I'm going to go back a little bit. Okay. This is a video. I'm going to show you a video. It's going to be kind of hard to see, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. I'm going to show you a video I took of Mount Rainier from my mother's porch. And you're going to see how far away we actually were from Mount Rainier, and then you're going to see it zoom in. Right? Here we go.
Wait, go back. I don't think it showed, not with the phone, but in the video.
Okay, I'll restart it.
It happens really fast.
It goes really fast. How do I do it? Okay.
Oh yeah, it's back there. Yeah,
Here's
great.
the original photo I took.
There you go.
This fantastic picture of Mount Rainier started like this.
But it's not Mount Rainier right there.
That little space right there, that's where Mount Rainier is. You can't even see it. Now I'm going to play the video. Zoom in, there it is. And then I went, oh my God. So then I actually took the picture and zoomed in on it, and this is what I got. Look at that. It's insane. I could not even see that. I could not see that mountain at that relief just looking at it visually. I had to zoom in on it from my iPhone camera. It's intense. Here's another picture of it. This is another photograph of that same area. Look at this car driving across this park in front of this mountain. You can't even see the mountain. You can't even see the mountain. And then right after that, I zoom in. This is the picture of the mountain I took that you couldn't see in the picture of that car driving in front of the park. I was so blown away by that.
Yeah, that's pretty freaky.
That I was just amazed. I showed it to my friends and we're like, man, that was a great picture. How did you set that up? I took the picture where I could sort of see that there was a mountain a million miles away, and I took a picture of that gray area, and then I zoomed in and I went, oh my God, look.
I'm brilliant. All right, so I think you answered that. The answers are.
Well, why did I get on that? Because the character of the sound is in there, and you need to extract it out of it. And there's a way to do that, and the Z-Rack does a pretty good job of starting that process. And there's more to that that's going to be developed going forward.
So future modular revisions could borrow from that design.
Yes.
And then Dave O piggybacks on that question, saying any interest in producing just a 0-watt tube power amp, like an isolated GPDI power section, to impart power amp mojo to preamp or line level devices.
Yeah, I was interested in that. Well, it's not going to be 0-watt. It's going to be a little bit of power because you need to drive a reactive load, even if it's a small reactive load. And that's the one thing that the Z-Rack doesn't have. It has a transformer, but it's not driving even a scaled down miniature reactive load. And that's the key development that we proposed a long time ago and will add to new designs going forward.
Yes. Okay, well, you know what? Oh, here's one. This is simple, straightforward. Any chance I can get a power station that can handle my 72 SVT?
Just like Torn to ask a question like that. Michael, I'll make you one specifically to do that, okay?
Oh!
All you know where I am. You know where to find me. You know where the good Mexican restaurants are. You know how to get a good margarita. And by the way, Michael, that Japanese rum thing that stuff was the shit. That was the shit.
He says, deal. Okay. K2 asks, do you know how many of the power station units with the blue sapphire, that faceplate, that thing for that the one dealer, were made? And just curious how rare they are and what inspired that.
We made 100 of the 50, the PS2 and the PS100. We made 100 of each of those. Those were done for Washington Music as a special project. Now, Washington Music had a 65th anniversary, and they chose Sapphire Blue as their company color. So they contacted us and said,
they're so cool.
They are the coolest thing. They said, we're doing our 65th anniversary and our company color is Sapphire Blue. We're not asking, they selected a small subset of their suppliers.
Oh, that's cool.
And said, we want you to participate in our 65th anniversary and provide us something that you can come up with in Sapphire Blue that would represent our brand. We think that you can come up with something that would satisfy that groove.
Nice.
Will you be interested in participating? And I went, thank you for the opportunity to do something that shows what we can do. They said, well, maybe you could just like paint the chassis blue. And I'm like, oh, no. Oh, no. That's not the way we do things around here. Sapphire Blue. It just so happens that Sapphire Blue is a standard. Well, there's blue anodized and there's sapphire blue anodized. And to get the sapphire sort of sheen to it, you have to know a good anodizing company that can get that just right.
Okay.
Then we've got a green power switch. And we have white. If you look.
I know, I was doing the same thing.
Oh, there it is. If you look at the PS100 right there, you see that it's silver with
the standard one
with black and a gray background.
Yes.
So we would have to take that format with the green switch and the gray layer behind the black and try to figure out how to integrate that into the blue. So what we did was we got a sapphire blue anodized color that we liked, and then we matched the silkscreen text and the background to match that. But we also had to keep the logo white so that when your eye goes to the right and you see the green switch, it wouldn't clash with the blue.
Right.
This is where Nico-chan's
art background.
This is where her special.
That and flying penises.
Exactly. This is where her special gift lies, in looking at that and going, in order for this to work, we got to do blah, 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 blah. Great. So she goes and she dictates all the things to the graphics department and the the metal fabrication people. The blue has got to be a certain blue. It's got the white has got to, the gray has got to be a certain gray. Everything has got to be able to accommodate the fact that we've got a white logo, some black text, and a green switch. All this has to work together.
Yeah.
And if you saw, you saw when she did the ether logo.
Oh yeah.
Her entire office, all the walls in front of her desk, to the right of her desk, to the left of her desk, behind her desk, and on the wall in the production area, there was hundreds of variations of the script Fryette logo. Hundreds.
Erico's a
I'm not
serious human
exaggerating.
being. Yeah.
Am I exaggerating?
No.
There were hundreds.
No, sir.
They were pasted all over the walls of the old factory to the point where you're like, what the hell is with this? When you walked in there, you went,
iteration.
what the hell's with this?
Yeah.
Erico's working on a logo. Yeah, but there are hundreds of them. Yeah, she's trying to find.
I didn't really know Erico yet.
Huh.
And that was, this is how she works. Okay. Well, I really appreciate that.
We
I
have
love
pictures. We have pictures.
that. True. You guys are cute. No, we're not.
Yeah.
True. We're gross.
You're
ugly old men.
You're cute.
Get on here with us.
You go and play in Germany, and your audience is crying, repeating the lyrics of all your songs as you're like blurting out metal guitar riffs like nobody else can. So love you too. I love you, True. So anyway, that was the inspiration. They came to us and said, Sapphire Blue. And we went, no, it's not just Sapphire Blue, it's the whole concept, it's the whole visual thing. So we came up with that, and they went, okay, yeah, we think we can sell 25 of each. And then they can you get another 25 more? Can we get another 25 more? And it just went on and on and on until we made 150% of what they asked for, because we thought there's going to be some defects in the panels. We're going to need replacements in case anybody damages one.
That's why I've seen them in the demo room in here.
Yeah.
That's why you have some. Okay. I was
Yeah,
like,
we
how the hell
kept
did you wind
extras.
up with
Just
them?
now, that doesn't mean that we're going to be able to sell you one. Blue.
Because that's where my head just went.
Yeah,
like
that's where everybody. But we did this for them, and we made extras so that if anybody damages one, we can replace those. And we learned that from.
That's actually really smart.
How did we learn that? We learned that from the 2150.
Oh, yeah.
From the purple and the blue, and I need a replacement one. Oh,
Right.
we only made 100 of
Shit out of
those.
luck, yeah.
Oh, fuck you guys! You know, and
Yeah,
everything. That's another part of the learning process. What's the next question?
The next question is, can you do a custom fat bottom cabinet, like with red tolex? This is not the answer I was expecting, but I'm here for it. You got a shaker? Are you on another show?
I am.
Steve, what am I going to do with you?
Yeah, really. Seriously, what are you going to do with me? What are you going to do about it?
I'm going to end the stream. I know Bear God Fishing just asked a question. Oh, well, I'll ask this in a sec. This is probably not in tune with your... Ooh. All right, what's this song? What are we playing?
Well, I see you got your brand new pillbox hat. Yes, I see you got your brand new leopard skin pillbox hat. Well, you must tell me, baby, how your head feels under a thing like that. Well, you look pretty, and honey, can I jump on it sometime. Yes, I just want to see if it's really the expensive kind. You know, lands that bind your head just like a mattress balances on a bottle of wine. Your leopard skin pillbox hat. Well, if you want to turn to see the sun, honey, I know where. Well, go out and see us sometime. We'll both find it here and there. Me with my belt wrapped around my head, and you just sitting there in your leopard skin pillbox hat. I'm not going to do the whole thing because it's insanely long and hilarious. But anyway, why did I do that?
I don't know, because
You asked me a question and we were like trying to do
and
the
then
10.
you went, I'm gonna play some Bob Dylan.
I just love that song.
You
Okay,
know-
what was the next question?
Can you do a custom fat bond cabinet in red Tolex?
No.
Oh.
And I'll tell you why. The custom Tolexes. Let's talk about custom. There's custom and there's Tolex. Custom means that you made it special. Tolex means that you bought off the shelf. The off the shelf Tolex that you can buy has a specific pattern and it's not a very attractive pattern. In order to get the pattern, in other words, the grain, the right way, in other words, we have a grain that all of our cabinets and heads have. It's a custom grain that we designed, that we paid for the tooling to have all of our vinyl made with this grain.
I know that.
And in order to get that made, we have to make 2,000 yards, 2,000 meters. That's the minimum order quantity. Same for us, same for Fender, same for Marshall, same for anybody. In order to do a custom color with the original grain, it's the same thing, with the original grain that you designed for your product, you have to do 2,000 linear yards of that color. Why wouldn't we do a red grained vinyl? Because 5 people will buy those, but we have to buy enough for 4,000 people to buy one. And why don't we just use the existing red vinyl that's available? Because it's shitty quality vinyl. It looks bad, it's not made well, the backing material on it is poor quality. It would be good for like 2 years and then it would start to rip and peel and it would not wear well. So that's why we don't do that. That's why a lot of companies don't do that. Why Mesa does that is because they already invested a lot of money in those custom colors 20, 30, 40 years ago. And they probably still have in inventory a lot of those custom colors that they use because they're still trying to get rid of it, honestly. Then that's why we don't do that. We design an amplifier that looks a certain way, looks good, the vinyl color looks good with the other color complements that we use. And red vinyl, honestly, with a black front panel and a green switch, looks god-awful with the black roof.
That's probably really...
So, and we built one of those for a guy once, and it was the ugliest looking thing we ever made, and we won't do it again. That's why.
All right, that was the last question. We got to get out of here.
Just got to say something about Fleetwood Mac.
Where is this coming from?
Jeremy Spencer was really into the blues. And he was the one guy in that band that would not contribute any original material. And the reason he didn't is because he didn't think that he could come up with anything as good as like the blues masters that
The American blues musicians.
he was influenced by.
Yeah.
And he just said, I can't come any, I don't really want to write any new material. There's still amazing material from blues masters that nobody's ever heard, and that's all I'm interested in playing. And so listen to the very first couple of years of YouTube videos showing the original Fleetwood Mac, where Jeremy Spencer is doing like Dust My Broom and songs like that. He does such an amazing job of it. And I listen to that all the time, and I just go, holy crap. He was the guy that was the blues anchor for that
The Mac.
Fleetwood Mac.
No.
And every time I hear it, I just like pull my car over and go, I have to pull my car over because I can't drive my car and listen to a song like this and not worry about that I'm going to miss my exit. Or
That's
just
a great feeling.
Huh?
Oh, that's a great feeling.
I just turn it up so loud that it blows the speakers out of the car.
Oh.
That's the one good thing about having the boss out of town for a couple of days, is because I can drive all the way to work
Without this Cooper week.
yeah, and just go, I'm ready to work now.
Because I'm stoned on music.
So once again, I love Alias. We love Alias. I love you, Joe.
Really?
I
You
do.
love me?
I do. I totally love
I
you.
love you too, man. I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
And the bottom is the best part.
That's right. That's where all the real goodies reside.
Okay, now this is how you know how drunk we are. Look how red our faces are. Love you guys.
And if you were
Thanks for
all
coming
here,
and
we'd
hanging
all
out.
be doing the same thing.
We're going to have some fun shows. Well, we're going to have some interesting shows. Well, we're going to have some deep shows coming up in the next 2 weeks and 4 weeks. And so,
We're still doing it. We're
bring
still
whatever
doing
you got. Look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks for hanging out. Love all you guys. Cheers.
it. And away we go.